Would you like some pettins before I film? Hi. Hi. Do you want to say hello? Can you look at the camera? Say hi. You're a good kitty. Okay, you're not allowed in here. Okay? Okay. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah, and today's video is going to be series that I have started and I want to finish. So this is by no means a comprehensive list. These are, and I have piles of books over here, these are the series that I thought of most recently I've read from. Does that make sense? Sure. I have, in the last few years, started and not finished so many series that it's frankly embarrassing. This is also specifically going to be my fantasy and romance series and the in-between space of fantasy romance. I'm not going to talk about manga or graphic novels or Star Wars, anything like that in this video. This is just fantasy and romance novels that I want to finish, that I have started in some capacity. So honorable mentions, because technically I have finished this series multiple times before, but I am working through a reread of Lord of the Rings. Classic. Feel like I don't need to explain what Lord of the Rings is, but this gets an honorary mention because I have read this before, and I intend on finishing it again this year, if not within the next few months, so getting that one out of the way. We will also get out of the way, if you have watched any of my videos before, the 3 Dawn May series that I'm in the middle of, or I have started. The first is The Scum Villains Self-Saving System by MXTX. This is I think they called it a transmutation, something. He gets transported into his favorite web novel, and he has to save himself from the villain's fate because he is put in the villain's position. He knows what happens to the villain, and he has to save himself from that fate. The next one is Heaven Official's Blessing, also by MXTX, and this is the story of a young man who ascends for the 3rd time and has absolutely no merits, no assets as a young god, and he has to build that up to first repay those that his ascension caused some like minor turbulence in the heavens, and he needs to pay for damages, literally pay for damages, but also just to get a footing back in the heavens. And it's about that and a romance between him and basically the king of the ghosts. So, and the final one is The Husky and His White Cat Shizune, which is not by MXT, it's by a different author. I will mispronounce the name, so I'm not going to attempt. I am so sorry. And this is about the emperor of all humanity sort of thing. He dies by his own hand in his 30s, and he is reincarnated in his 16-year-old body, and he swears that he is going to save the man he loves, but along the way you kind of learn the truth of possibly what his heart and his romantic entanglements entailed when he was a boy that he didn't see at that time. So it's interesting, it's fun, it's dark, so check your trigger warnings. So now that we're past that, we're gonna start let's start with the romance. I'll start with my romance, we'll go to fantasy romance, and then end on the fantasy because I think it's about even. We'll see. I didn't actually count. So top of my list is going to be Beverly Jenkins' The Women Who Dare series. I have all of these, but I have technically only read one of them, and I don't think this is one of them. No, this one I need to read. But I really loved, I think the one I read was To Catch a Raven. I have read To Catch a Raven, and I think this is the second one. So I need to read 1 and 2 because I read the series prior to this. I can't remember the name of it that she wrote and loved it. I just really enjoy her work. She does black love, western cowboy romances, and I really enjoy that sort of thing. The next romance, let's do another contemporary-esque one. Wishful Thinking. This is by Celestine Martin? Yes. I just found out while I was doing research for this video that there is a second book in this series, and I'm so excited. I have it pre-ordered. I'm so excited. I read this at the beginning. No. at the end of last year. And I really loved it. This is about a witch and a man who moves back to her town, who was kind of her like longtime crush neighbor sort of situation, and he is a social media influencer star, and how they reconnect over a house that he inherits, or he's given by his parents. He has no intention of settling down. She wants to settle down specifically in that house, and she agrees to help him renovate it in hopes that maybe she can buy it, and how they kind of fall in together. That one has magical elements to it, but it's not super heavy-handed. I wouldn't class it as a like traditional fantasy romance. It is more contemporary with some whimsical fantasy elements to it. The next contemporary romance, this one just straight contemporary, no magic, is The Salacious Players Club by Sarah Kate. I have finished the first one, as you can tell, and I am partially through the second one. Not super far, but a little ways into it. I just started it recently, but I do intend to read this whole series. I absolutely loved this one. I'm loving the second one, and these are fun BDSM kink-friendly stories about a group of friends who set up a club bar situation that caters to the people who enjoy that sort of lifestyle, and about their romances and relationships that they spark in the course of running the joints. So this is a very fun series. If you like romance, highly recommend it. It's available on KU. And I am moving quickly through these because I have a lot. Let's see. The next this one is a mystery series, which I have talked about at length before, so you've probably heard of. It's the Criminal Intentions series by Cole McCade, which, again, this is one that I have read the first volume of, and I am working on the second one, and I adore these. This is a mystery. Two detectives come together to solve a series of murders and crimes, and it's a very slow burn series about their escapades. I think the first season is 13. He calls them episodes. This is season 1, episode 1. And the second season is still being written right now. So there is a lot to catch up on. I am just starting, but I have every intention of catching up all the way and finishing this. And I'll probably have to buy another bookshelf. Let's be honest. Let me check. I have 2 more physical books, but I think I might, yes, have another couple of contemporary series that I'm reading on Kindle. One is The Bergman Brothers by Chloe Leese. I have only read the first one of this, and it was okay. I liked it, but I have heard that the next few books are fantastic and people swear by it. And I have read one other Chloe Leese book that was not in the Bergman series, and I liked it pretty good. So I really am interested in finishing this. They were really quick. Again, it's a KU series, so it's not something that's hard to get my hands on. So I intend to finish this one as well. The Necessary Evils series, speaking of detectives and murders, is a psychopath series by Onley James. And this is again an example of, I read the first book and I wasn't crazy about it, but I know that the later books are supposed to get a lot better. So I am looking forward to getting into those books. And it's such a beloved series that I am super, super excited about it. I really want to find out what all the hype is about and I guess jump on that bandwagon. And I think the last of the Kindle romance reads that I have, and which will segue well into the kind of fantasy romance ones, are the Stay a Spell series by Juliet Cross. And this is a series about a group of sisters who are the like reigning coven in, I feel like I should remember the name of the city, but I don't. And their romances. More of like the paranormal fantasy sort of paranormal romance is what I would call this, and that leads well into, that's another one that I have just read the first book of, but fully intend to continue reading that. That leads well into Nalini Singh. Now technically I have read almost all of these. This is the Changeling books. I just grabbed a random one off of my shelf. I don't have many of these in physical format, but I do have a few. I think I am one behind on the current like arc that's going on right now. The Trinity, I think is what it's called, arc. I can't remember exactly what the current run is called. And I have read almost every single one of the pre-existing ones. There might be 1 or 2 that I missed, but I am actually rereading through these to catch those ones that I've missed so that I have a much better familiarity with it. So this is one that I intend to keep up with and finish out because, like I said, I think I'm 1 or 2 books behind at this point. But I love Nalini Singh. And on this point, I do want to read her Guild Hunter series, but I absolutely despise the alpha hole hero of the first book. I've never made it through that one. And someone please tell me that it gets better and that I can skip that one. Something along those lines. Because I want to read Guild Hunters, but I cannot get through that book because that main hero is such an alpha hole. I can't stand him. He drives me up the wall and back down again. And to the point where I'm DNFing it. I think I've tried to read it 3 times now. The, I think, last romance that I have, and I will double check myself. Oh, no, I just saw one. I saw one at a glance. It's okay. There's one more. The Meet Mishaps series by Kimberly Lemming. And this is a series that I heard a lot about. And then my husband decided to pick out the Christmas books he was going to get me on his own without help. And he came across a series and got it for me, which was super well done of him. These follow a different set of women. Each time it is friends in this world where they find out in the first book that the goddess that was like protecting this little town, I think it's called Buhale, was not a goddess. She was not a nice lady. And the main character in this one figures out how to release the kind of binding spell that's on the demons. They call them demons, but they just call them by their own races. So like the vampires, the minotaurs, that sort of thing, the dragons. She figures out how to break that binding spell. It's with Cinnamon. And the shenanigans that ensue after that when she breaks the hold that the not a goddess lady has over the area, and everything that comes after that. There are 2, 1 novella and 1 novel in this series that are out. There's a 3rd one announced. I'm super excited about it. That I have not read. So I have all of them. I just need to actually catch up. And the last one that I saw right as I looked over is the Gods of Hunger by R.M. Virtue series, and this starts with Drag Me Up. This is the, in my personal opinion, superior version of what Katie Roberts does with her Olympus series. It's a very similar premise, but much better. I don't know who came first. I don't care. I like some Katie Roberts, but just not her Olympus series. However, I love this one. It's much more diverse. It's got much more interesting cast of characters, and it's fantastic. Drag Me Up is Hades and Persephone, and the one that I'm currently on with the shoes, again, so bad at names and titles. I'm partially through that one, and that is Aphrodite and Hephaestus. I can't say his name. He was the god of the forge, I think, in actual mythology. And it is a hate to love forced proximity, which is one of my favorite trope combinations, so super enjoying it. So that's all of the romance books out of the way. I have a stack of fantasy books. I'm going to we'll just start at the top of the list, which is the bottom of this list, with the Goblin Emperor series by Catherine Addison. I read this, as you can tell with the original cover, when it first came out. Lord, when did this come out? This came out in 2014, so I read this in 2014 when it first came out. And there are now 2 more books. For a long time, I didn't think she was going to write. I don't think she knew she was going to write a sequel sort of series to this. But there is The Grief of Stones and something else, and I have not read those 2 books. And I fully intend on getting back to it. This is, I would call this a cozy fantasy, but it is extremely complicated with the names and the politics, because it's entirely politics. It is about a young boy who becomes emperor when he was not meant at all to ever be emperor. He is the half-son of the emperor when the emperor and all his sons and heirs are killed in circumstances, and he is forced out of the country and into the role of the emperor, and how he has to take over that role. And it's a lot of, you would think, backstabbing and terrible things, but our main character is just so sweet and wholesome, and it's so nice to see a good person win with the pure goodness of his heart, which is basically what happens. I would like to reread this before I dive into the next one, but the because I know that the second one is about a speaker for the dead who is mentioned in this, but who isn't a huge character, and then the one after that I think is a direct sequel to it. So it's a series I intend to complete. I just haven't gotten to yet. I was surprised, honestly, when the second book came out. Next off of my pile is the Witcher series. Again, another one that may not be a surprise if you've watched many of my videos. This is the final short story collection in the very pretty Orbit hardbacks that I recommend everyone pick up if you can. This is, I'm not going to explain The Witcher. There's a TV show. There's a bunch of video games. I've played all the games. I've seen the first season of the show. They did some things I didn't love with the show, so I have not gone on with the show, and I probably won't with the casting changes that they made, because no thank you. But I really like the books so far, and my husband is a big fan of the books, so this is another series that I have got to get to. I know there's some questionable use of women, that sort of thing in these, but I grew up reading a lot of old school fantasy and science fiction, so a lot of times I can look past that, and so I'm very excited to dive into these. I also love the mythology that this is steeped in, so one that I can hopefully get to sooner rather than later. Now for a shame-filled confession. I am behind on Brando Sando. Very behind on Brando Sando, in fact. This is another series that I had started reading when it came out, and I am now currently 2 books behind. I have not read Oathbringer, and I have not read Rhythm of War. So, again, a series I feel like I don't need to explain. This is a booktube darling. This is a just fantasy reader darling, frankly. I am not of the hardcore Brando Sando fan base that a lot of people are. I'm not like a hardcore fan. I don't swear by him. He's not for everybody. I 100% will tell people that. But I do like his work. It's accessible. It's readable. He's creative. I oftentimes see his plot twists coming, but he does sometimes have the capability to surprise me. So I need to catch up. And on this note, the Mistborn series. Also really need to catch up. I think I honestly want to catch up more on Mistborn because I love Gaslamp fantasy. Yeah, that's what it's called. I can never remember the exact name. Sort of the Western style fantasy, and that is what the second series in the Mistborn cycle is about, but I do not intend to skip forward because I have read the first Mistborn book and I know the characters and I want to know what happens, so I just really want to get to Wax and Wayne, but that's another series that I need to finish. Another fantasy series that is big in a dense way is the Black Leopard Red Wolf series. I cannot remember the Convergence Saga. That's the actual series name for this, and this is by Marlon James. This is, oh man, and this also may be a controversial opinion. I know some people did not like this, but I really did. I liked the use of mythology. I liked the unconventional storytelling style. And I just liked the take that he took. This was Marlon James's answer to Game of Thrones, is what I like to tell people, because before this was coming out, that was kind of what he was saying, was he wanted to write a Game of Thrones style fantasy, but use African mythos and fairy tale sort of styling. So I can't really summarize this. Let's see. The best summary I can give this is a man is tasked with finding a lost child, and how to find that child, he crosses both the mortal, immortal, and spirit realms, and ultimately where that leads him. It's the best summary I can give. One, because I feel like too much of a summary spoils it, and two, the stuff that I do remember is very spoilery, so I don't want to spoil it unintentionally. But that is the very basic summary of this, and it's very, again, African mythos, structure, mythology, all of that inspired, and it has a ton of trigger warnings. Please look them up before you dive into that. But it is, in my opinion, worth that. There's some scenes and stuff that is hard to get through, but ultimately the story itself is worth it. So, mileage may vary, but it is definitely a series I plan on continuing. And again, another one where mileage may vary is The Grace of Kings, the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. I know a lot of people don't like the this first book and it turns me off the rest of the series. I loved the first book, which is a little unpopular, so I am super excited to continue on with the series. I have the second book upstairs. I actually just got it. So this is another big epic fantasy series. This one is complete. That is Chinese history inspired as opposed to African. So this is another take on that sort of a genre. The first book sets up the history of the world that the story is going to take place in, sets up our main characters, how they come to the positions they are in, and how the world was set up for them to get to that position. And then the next books take the story from there. It's a story of rebellion, empire, countries lost and found, that sort of thing. Very excited. How many times have I said excited? Do we need to play a drinking game? I don't drink. Do we need to play like a candy game? When do you get a tummy ache? How many times have I said excited? Let me check. I think that is actually almost everything that I have. I'm sorry, I told you wrong. Black Leopard, Red Wolf is called the Dark Star Trilogy, not the Convergence Saga. The Convergence Saga is No Gods, No Monsters, and that is by not Todd A. Thompson. Darn, I'll put it on the screen. It's gonna come to me later. This is an urban fantasy series. It really plays with the ideas of the other, kind of a foil to racism and classism in the States, but the idea is that suddenly shapeshifters, werewolves, are seen on TV, and what happens to the world from there, and we follow those shapeshifters, shifters I think is technically what they're called, as they get embroiled in with other groups of paranormal creatures that have been existing on the edges of society, and how they're coming to this time, this convergence when the world will become aware, or the world may be ending. There's a lot of big sort of like threatening things coming from the stars. Like it's got some timey-wimey stuff going on as well. It's very complex. It needs a reread, but I'm very excited. The second book is announced for this year, so that is one that I am desperately looking forward to. And I think, before I show the last book I have here, yes, the last series that I have is the Murderbot series. I'm actually kind of almost caught up on Murderbot. I need to read this one and I think one more. And I do believe there may be another one coming this year. But the Murderbot series starts with a series of novellas about Murderbot, who is an AI unit who has hacked its own governing module and wants to spend its day relaxing and watching its soaps. And who can't empathize with that? But they keep getting sent out on these missions. They keep having to save humans, and they make unexpected bonds, let's say, and relationships with those humans, and the sort of shenanigans that come from that. This is another booktube darling. I don't feel like I need to explain it too much. This is the first novella, and I'm sorry, this is the first full-length novel, and I believe the other one that I'm missing is also a full-length novel. So that's another one that I'm going to get to, hopefully sooner rather than later. That is a rapid-fire quick overview of the top series on my list to finish that are not a manga, graphic novel, Star Wars sort of thing. It's nowhere near enough. I'm pretty sure I could turn around and point at a series over my shoulder that I've forgotten. Oh, like that one. Like Wheel of Time. I want to reread that, and I haven't finished that yet. So like, but hopefully these are the ones that we will see coming in the future in wrap-ups and, you know, month-end reviews, that sort of thing. Let me know, have you read any of these? Do you have any suggestions based off of what I have shown you here? And I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you later. Bye!